everybody. This is Heather Lockett, and these are Lasting Conversations on the Road. I'm here with my very good and oldest friend, Ray Coutu. We're in Massachusetts, and we got the giggles because when you've known somebody since you're 14 and 16, all you do is get reduced to giggles. So here we are. Hi, Ray.
Hi, Heather.
I think I've wrangled him into this conversation, even though since I've been visiting over here in Massachusetts the last few days, we do nothing but chat and catch up and just go deep and have a very good time and share our histories together. So one of the things that we touch on is family. And yesterday was Father's Day. And I got to spend Father's Day with Ray and his husband and his two boys, and then Ray's sister, Kathy, whom I've also known forever, and she is Mary Queen of the World. So hi, Kathy. But point being, family. And Ray is a family guy and has been a family guy since I've known him. But, you know, life took a turn back in the 80s when he realized that life was a bit different and that his mother had planned. She wanted us to get married and be together, right?
Yes, she did.
Yes, she did.
She had our wedding planned, Heather.
She sure did.
She saw you in white walking down the aisle.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. But life had many other plans, and I had other husbands.
Me too.
That's right. And Ray has a beautiful husband too. And that's kind of the point in terms of families being together. And here we are on Father's Day. And I can't imagine two more amazing dads raising two amazing boys.
Thank you.
So, but that journey wasn't easy at first. And how did you find your, not only within yourself, but let's just kind of fast forward to community and being in a town and raising children who you adopted, and having all of that kind of blend together as being a community member raising kids?
Are you asking
Yes,
how?
I am. Like how that whole process has been. And
Oh, I see.
yeah.
Yes. Actually, we're very fortunate because we're living in Massachusetts, which is a very blue state, shall we say. And we have really never encountered any resistance, any kind of prejudice, any kind of direct hate or anything ugly like that. It's actually been a really wonderful place to raise kids, you know. And you know, I think it's a credit to this community. You know, it's a very tolerant community. You know, in some ways I wish it was a model for all of America because we all just kind of live our lives and we know that we need to take care of one another. And that's what we do here in Newburyport. So I just feel very blessed to be here and be raising my children here. So.
Well, which is really cool. And I think I appreciate what you said about if everybody just lives their lives and takes care of each other as a community. My standpoint is otherwise, what's the big deal? You know, we're just, everybody's in this together, and doesn't matter what your families look like and where they're from. If people are getting along and you're just raising responsible young people to carry on our community, that's really all that matters.
Right. Because really, you know, it sounds cliche, but kids are the future.
Kids are the future.
If we don't take care of kids, if we don't take care of families, if we don't band together to ensure that everyone is leading their best life, you know, we're in trouble. You know, the future is in trouble. You know, we've got to be one big national community.
I think that's true, and international community.
Yes.
To which your sons are originally from Guatemala, and they're here being raised in the United States, but they're part of it. And I think our youth know this. This is an international time. It always really has been, but where the future really stands is part of a global community.
Right.
And so what starts in our backyards ripples out.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Do you think your boys know this? Are they part of that vision. They've graduated high school or in college, but the job paths that they're already doing is really community focused, and it's quite amazing, as a matter of fact. So you get the sense that they kind of inherently know that they are part of the future and life will continue.
I think they do. You know, they're
I know they're young boys being young boys.
They are.
Within that,
they're young boys being young boys. But, you know, every now and then, I'm sure a lot of the parents out there will relate to this. You know, I don't get a whole lot. You know, it's not like we sit around the dinner table talking about how we're going to make the world a better place. You know, we don't do that. I mean, we'll certainly talk politics sometimes. We'll talk about sort of like, you know, if there's an injustice in the headline news, you know, we'll talk about that. And usually they lean in the direction that I want them leaning. But I think you're right about, you know, it's almost like I was thinking about that old phrase, you know, think globally, act locally, you know, and that's precisely what they're doing this summer. You know, one of them is working for the Parks Department, just improving. I mean, our city is a beautiful city largely because of the Department of Public Works and the hard work they put in daily to make it a beautiful city. So I'm really proud that one of my sons is on that team to make the parks as wonderful as they can be. And then the other one is working, he's studying public health in college. So he took a job at the dementia care residence at our local hospital.
Which is massive. That to dive in as a young person.
Right.
I've witnessed help, you know, when my mom was in a certain facility, and that's a rough job. And that he's diving in.
Right.
Had a resident pass away today. God bless him. And so this is important work. So we're already in good hands. That's where they're showing us our future.
Yes.
So we really are already in great hands.
Right. Well, I hope so for us all.
Yeah. So, and you know, it's kind of a funny moment we're having on the sofa here because Ray and I have been giggling and chatting since we were younger than now, all of our kids. And so these interesting full circle moments, and to have these generational paths is pretty remarkable, and it touches the hat.
It touches the hat. It goes straight to the hat.
It totally goes straight to the hat. So an interesting segue is, Ray, you have been a writer, but you've been in education for all of your career, with different publishing companies, and you've been scholastic for most of your career, working alongside with and for teachers, right? Yes. And curriculum and stuff. So where I think I'm headed with that has to do with over the course of, how long, 30-year career at this point? A long time.
Oh my gosh. It's been more than that. You know, I think it's been, I want to say, well, I was 22 and I'm 40 years.
Okay, so 40 years. 40 years. A long span within the education, writing, and creative. Putting all of those things together, and you've actually written books too, which are adorable. How are you seeing kind of the differences or the flow of where education's been going, or how we're teaching the kids? And we have to lob the big one in terms of the pandemic, which shook everybody's tree.
Right.
It just shook everybody's tree and how things are being done. But in the end, I'm going to add one more thing to this whole question, which is now you also spend time back in a classroom setting with young people, with little kids. And so stepping out of your office and in the classroom settings with the little kids, how are you finding life in the education zone and where that ride has taken you in the last 40 years and where it's taking all of us really educationally?
Yeah, that's a huge question.
Yeah,
it's a huge question.
I loved a few out there. I tend to do that.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I think, you know, I'm going to start by saying that not a day goes by when I don't think about that question or some form of that question. You know, and in recent years, as you say, especially with the pandemic, things have gotten so complicated for kids and teachers and parents,
right?
You know,
because we're adding homeschooling and pod schooling because these bureaucracies in the crazy town, and families just want another choice.
Right.
And the kids just want to learn and write and play.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, it's the pandemic has really did a number on kids. Teachers are encountering more social emotional issues than ever before.
Right.
They're facing kids with depression. They're facing kids with anxiety. They're facing kids with anger issues. More than they have ever dealt with before. There are other factors as well, but the pandemic really sort of set kids back in a lot of ways because it's really healthy to be in a classroom. It's really healthy to be among your peers, especially the little ones. Those are formative years and they pass so quickly, and to deprive them of that social interaction, I think really did a number on them, and we're seeing that now. So teachers are doing a lot more than teaching. They're sort of acting as therapists in a way to some of these kids and their families, and that's not their job, but they're kind of forced to do that because they can't teach well unless they have a healthy class. And by healthy, I don't just mean physically healthy, I mean mentally healthy, I mean spiritually healthy, I mean, the whole thing. So anyway, that's one big thing I'm seeing. So a lot of professionals are kind of moving in to help educators with this. And work. Good
so
work
is the staff getting help along the way to help them shift and morph what they have to do professionally for the classroom and for the kids and the families, but even for their own mental health, because it's very stressful all around.
Yes.
So is there help for the helpers?
There is. Like you said, I come from the publishing world, so I can't really speak to what is going on in terms of frontline assistance on this stuff, face-to-face assistant for both the kids and the educators. But I can tell you that we are publishing much more in these
I was going to ask within the publishing world, what's happening there?
Yeah, I mean...
And maybe for teachers, and I know teachers personally, they're on ground zero. So are there things coming forward that is going to be there for them for the 23-24 school year, the 24-25 school year? Absolutely.
I mean, when you look at through a publishing lens, there's so many more, Scholastic included, so many publishers, Scholastic included, I should say, doing more wellness books for teachers.
Okay.
Books on, how you regain your sort of the passion you had when you first entered the field. How to sort of handle anxiety. When it's so overwhelming, you're thinking about quitting. And as the last thing we need are more teachers quitting.
Right.
We need to take care of our teachers. We need to make sure they are okay, because where would we be without our teachers?
Right. Every single one of us.
Every single one of us has a teacher to thank. So
the resources are coming up.
The resources are coming up, definitely. And then we're also doing books on specific issues teachers may be facing in the children themselves. Like I said earlier, anxiety, depression, anger, lack of resilience, that sort of thing. So that although a teacher is not a trained psychologist, these resources are designed to help her if she witnesses certain behaviors in the classroom.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting, because then even just to help understand a certain dynamic, then they can reach out to another professional that's their wheelhouse, a social worker or somebody else.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's a big part of it, is knowing the right professional, to go to when they witness sort of questionable behaviors in kids. So those are the kinds of things we're doing. And then the children's literature itself, I mean, the books that actually go into the kids' hands, you're seeing much more on, how to deal with some of these some of life's challenges. There are more books than ever being published to help kids sort of navigate stressors in their lives, difficulties in their lives,
Cool.
Pain in their lives,
Right.
So
And in an age appropriate or in a gentle
yes,
manner that is
absolutely.
there to be guideposts and in a fun way and all that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. So.
Well, that sounds very exciting. What is it that you are, I won't be too specific, but the stuff that jazzes you that you're working on, and are there certain authors, maybe not by name, but a certain type of work that as a long career and you have not retired yet because perhaps some of the work is still exciting for you?
Oh, it is. It's exciting. It can be overwhelming at times. Publishing is a tough industry because you're always working against a deadline, an impossible deadline. And when you're handed a manuscript that's just clearly not ready for
human consumption.
For human consumption.
Do you have to do author hand-holding and all that?
No, I was up at 5 this morning working on a manuscript.
Gosh.
It's like...
You're good.
But, so there's that. But that said, I love what I do. I really love what I do. And I feel like I'm giving back in a big way. And as far as trends I'm seeing, is that what you're doing?
Yeah, that's what
one I've already mentioned. It's the social emotional learning piece. Another one is this science of reading. A lot of people, I don't know.
What's that?
Well, the science
yes,
of
boys
reading
and girls, we're going to get to the science reading part of the show.
Well, it is a way of looking at reading instruction, particularly in the early grades, through the lens of a vast array of research. So traditionally, reading instruction has been based on research in literacy education. What science of reading does is it looks at that research as well as other kinds of research, such as cognitive research and psychological research, and it's sort of coming at the learner through all of these different lenses, and it's looking at a body of research that hasn't traditionally been looked at by educators. So I guess that's where the science comes in.
So how does that translate in terms of if you're a parent or if you're a teacher or a young person coming up that's even thinking of teaching? Tell us, what does that actually mean? You're formulating, it's just a different mindset or another way of looking at the kids or how to present material?
Well, it's more like what the kids are actually being taught.
Oh. So we can change change the industry. This is
sure.
This is
it's having a huge impact on the industry, and basically what the science of reading, devotees of the science of reading are advocating for stronger, more systematic, more explicit instruction in foundational skills. And by foundational skills, I mean things like phonics, phonemic awareness, fluency.
Because we got away from phonics. Education has ebbed and flowed.
It has.
And there's been trends and on trend, and then it's wrecked the kids, and then the kids have to relearn. And it's the grown-ups have kind of done a job, I think.
Yeah.
So is this looking at the research over the course of time to see what's really benefited over the course of time? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's looking at sort of research that's never been sort of looked at before.
Okay.
And certain researchers and work that hasn't been looked at seriously before.
Okay.
And really drilling down on the implications for practice. And again, what it comes down to is more explicit and systematic. And by explicit, it means you teach it directly. You don't you don't wait for an opportunity to teach it to come. You have You know what you want to teach, and you teach it. We know that kids learn to read in a very predictable way. Certain skills.
This is what's been working over time.
Certain skills build on certain skills, build on certain skills, build on certain skills. It's not unlike math, where you have to have these sort of baseline
building
abilities
blocks.
In order to grow as a mathematician. Well, the same thing is true of reading. You have to have these baseline foundational cumulative skills to become a proficient reader. So that's what the science of reading is really looking at, really making sure that kids are getting the explicit kind of instruction they need starting at a very early age. So we're doing a lot more work in that.
That actually sounds very exciting, and the potential to be very helpful moving forward. Because you find that that's actually going to help the teachers and administrators do their job. And when I say do their job, I mean in that loving, well-rounded way that we all hope for our kids, right? So that the kids are still, hopefully they get to have recess, and they get to have art, and they get to have the tactile time, and the creative time, and the squishing clay, and all of the crayons, and all of that, as well as, that's how you and I grew up, very, very foundationally. And I know myself in my own educational process, Montessori was great. It wasn't for me because I got lost in the complete shuffle when it became open classroom and learn at my own pace. And that for me personally was a disaster. I needed that regiment. So, but that was an experiment that was great for some in the 70s, and other kids, it was to the detriment. So if that's what you're talking about, and like really researching what are the foundational building blocks that then goes along with the fun and creative aspects.
Exactly. Because the bottom line is that, reading and writing are meaning-making processes. The risk of teaching kids to, in a very systematic, explicit way, very specific skills is they are not necessarily given the chance to apply those skills or to practice them in context. And by that, I mean reading, doing actual reading, experiencing the joy of reading. Teachers must still find time to read to children, texts that they could never read themselves because they're not there yet, right? But they need those models. They need that. They need to be immersed in language, because what is the point of learning all these, isolated skills? Great, the kid can
I call them worksheet drills.
Great. The kid can write hat, cat, sat, and can read hat, cat, sat, those individual words. But what's the point unless the child is trying to create, a complete idea on paper, say.
Put a thought together.
On paper. Or in this case on the screen, or is trying to read a book that may be a little bit tough for him, but, hopefully he's learned enough that he can sort of apply what he's learned and work through the difficult parts. You want them in text, working through the difficult parts. That's how they become more proficient readers. They need those foundational skills, and they need opportunities to practice reading, putting those skills to work. So.
Well, that's all is very exciting. And you had mentioned something, I think just yesterday, another bit of research having to do with testing the neuroscience of it all, right? The neuroscience of it all. And I think I had asked if there's also been the question of skills from screen time, because a lot of kids are handed iPads and MacBooks instead of a paper book, and having that kind of tactile. And I do believe your answer was yes. The kids that have an actual paper tactile physical book, somehow synaptically in our brains, they're retaining. I want to make sure I want to get this right.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to make it clear. I'm not a researcher. I'm not an expert.
We're just spitballing here too.
This is stuff experts tell me over coffee.
Yeah.
So, but there's been an incredible amount of brain research going on in recent years, largely because of advancements in technology.
Right, which is huge. We can actually
look at what happens to the brain when a kid is reading a text and how neurons do fire, and that's important, to stimulate the brain, obviously, and that's what reading does. And we've always sort of said that, but now we have evidence that it truly happens. So, as far as digital versus print, I've heard word of studies where, kids don't advance as quickly reading ebooks over print books. But at the same time, I've also heard that there are studies that show that kids gain greater content knowledge when they're working online rather than in print, because they have so much information at their disposal.
Right.
So they need to be, the challenge for teachers becomes, how do you get them to weed through the vast amount of information that's online to find what they need, and also to find the information that's reliable.
Right. So, there's always that.
Right. So making sure that you're at a site that you can trust.
Right.
And that's another big aspect of the science of reading. It's not just about phonics. It's very much about knowledge building, because traditionally, we talk about it's important to activate a child's background knowledge before they read. So if you're going to read a book on the planets, you ask the child, what do we already know about planets? What do you know about planets? Right. And the teacher will normally sort of write it on a board and collect all these facts about planets. Oh, this is all you know already. Let's find out some more about planets. And then they dive into the book. So that's activating background knowledge. But the problem, some people say, is if the children have no background knowledge to activate, then you're kind of starting at square one with the book. So it's just like there's more of a concerted effort these days to build knowledge, so that children do in fact have something to grab onto when they're either having a text read to them or they're reading the text themselves. So how that relates to research, I'm not sure, but it's that's what the internet, that's what it comes down to. The internet is just this vast amount of information, and I think, there have been studies where kids do acquire more knowledge on a digital platform than they do on a print platform.
Do you think the kids, and maybe we're segueing from your professional life and your parenting life, that, quote, the kids these days, they have these computers in their hand called a phone or an iPad, that they are already educating themselves in a way. I mean, the teachers in the foundations are doing a thing, but are you also finding that because these computers in our hands, in their hands, they're running faster than we can even teach them in some ways, in some aspects?
A little bit. But what a good teacher does, I think, is she doesn't deny the device, and instead works from where the child is. So, for example, and I think this is a good thing, kids are writing more than ever on their own topics, by their own choice. Yes, this is called texting. And yes, most of the time, all they're sending are emojis.
Okay.
I get that.
Right.
But they are communicating through text like never before in our history.
Okay.
And that's a good thing.
Right.
That's a good thing.
Right.
So, And I've seen a lot of teachers sort of run with what kids are texting. They will actually ask kids to take something from their phone and build from it,
Oh, as a cue for maybe fleshing out more writing or storyline or something.
Yeah, scroll your most recent text, for an idea for writing.
Okay, cool.
As far as, going back to sort of knowledge building, instead of sort of denying the websites the kids are naturally going to, presuming they're appropriate websites, look closely at those websites. Talk about those websites. Is it a reliable site? Who's producing this material? Can we trust this person? Are they truly experts? So I see teachers talking a lot about that sort of thing, so does that answer your question?
It really does, because I hadn't considered that and how creative that is, and that's part of a new world. You take what's the kids are utilizing, which is way different than any textbook.
Right.
But get it? Textbook?
Yes.
Nice.
Ooh, that's a good title for a book. Yeah. You should write that.
I just gave that to you.
Yeah.
There you
Awesome.
go. So, but we're sort of making each other's point. I like that. So where the future can keep on going, because kids are our best teachers. I will always I know this, they are our best teachers. All the while, where can we as their adults be their good stewards to shepherd them through and give them foundations and fill in all the gaps? And so, it's a different kind of textbook.
Right.
I like it.
Right.
That I wouldn't have considered that.
That's a great idea. It's a great idea.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a good one, Ray. Yeah. So are you seeing, are you loving being in a classroom with little kids?
Ooh, it's the best, because
do you get just great ideas from them? Then you can take back to work?
You hit the nail on the head when you said children are our best teachers.
Right.
They are. If you truly listen to a kid, you will learn a lot, and that's the thing, sometimes teachers need to learn to stop teaching.
Exactly.
Stop teaching and start listening, and let what the kids say inform what you do. Good teachers do that. They definitely do that.
Do you find administrators allow their teachers also?
A good administrator does.
A good one.
But
it's a hard one.
I find they can be few and far between. Most administrators are just shoving curriculum down teachers' throats and saying, you better be on page X by
and that can
October
come from
12th,
their governments and their state standards, and we could rabbit hole the whole scenario. Burr.
We don't want to go there. But
I'm still team human. We're trying to keep it.
Well, here's the thing about my teaching. I was in this field for about 40 years, and my dirty little secret was I'd never taught. I'd never taught. I have a master's degree in language and literacy. There was a practicum part to that. I did some volunteer work at our local learning enrichment center. I'd go in a classroom for video shoots for Scholastic, so it wasn't like I never spent time in school, but I never was in schools on a regular basis, actually responsible for the outcomes of kids. And I thought, I just reached a point. Do you ever have these aha moments?
Always.
I know you do. I listen to this podcast. It's all you talk about. So here's you're gonna love this. My aha moment was, I'm a fraud. Here I've been pumping out all of this professional development material for teachers, and I've never taught a day in my life. And kind of going back to your original question, things are so complicated in education right now, that I was finding myself losing touch with the information that I need to do my job well. So I just took a deep breath and I said, oh, I'm going to get a job teaching. So I wound up, 2 years ago, I started a class. It was 2 years ago. I started a class. 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 2 years ago. I started a class putting my resume out there, and this company came along, Catapult Learning, and they were willing to give me a shot, even though I had no experience. And so I tutor 3 mornings a week, second graders, and it's small group work. And
second graders are so fun. I mean, every grade is fun, but seriously, second grade.
Oh, these kids are just, they're hilarious, and they're just so sweet, and so unpredictable, and they're just so beautiful. They are like sponges. I know that probably sounds cliche, but
no, but it's true.
Yeah. So a lot of this work goes back to what you were saying about science of reading and phonics. These lessons I give are very explicit on a specific phonics topic, but I always end them with a book, a real book, and the book somehow captures the skill I was just teaching. So, for example, if I was teaching short O, as in hot, I would use a book like Hot Rod Hamster by Cynthia Lord. I don't know if anyone knows that, but it's a really sweet book, and kids love it. So they can't wait to get to that book. They are just so...
And see, that's the best. It's the passion of it.
It's the passion of it. It goes back to everything I was saying is, what's the point of teaching cat, sat, hat if the kids don't have an opportunity to see cat, sat, hat in a context that truly interests them, that they love, that they want to, just devour. And that's what they want to do. They want to devour these books. They're like leaning over into the book. And, depending on how sophisticated the book is, sometimes it's a read aloud. Sometimes I just read the book out loud to them if it's particularly complex. But if it isn't, it becomes more of a shared reading, meaning I read some of it, they read some of it, they read what they can. And that's the best. But anyway, I feel like... this work has just done so much for my work in publishing, because all of these preconceptions I had, despite that I've been doing this for so many years, are just kind of blown out of the water. Like, this is what it's really like, and I look at the books I'm editing these days through entirely different eyes, and I can talk to these authors who, if they're not classroom teachers now, they're former classroom teachers, or they're teaching teachers. And I feel like I can talk to them at a whole new level because I'm in there. Actually, I have students of my own, and I can compare my experience to their experience. And that's something I've never been able to do before. And it's very cool. I love it. So,
oh my goodness, that is so beautiful. And I guess in our world, we just call that the redirect, like when we have those ahas or come to Jesus or whatever moment to go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize this of myself.
Right.
Thank you, self, for now redirecting me into something that I didn't know was about to be so cool and so vitally important.
Right, exactly. And it's like, I don't know about you, but I'm saying, why didn't I do this like 30 years ago? Why did it take me so long to get to this point? But, life is a journey.
Life is a journey.
So I feel like, and with any luck, you're redirecting all the time. If you're leading an interesting life, if you're leading a fulfilling life, you're always analyzing your life, and you're making, you're taking detours on that journey.
Right. I'm on a big one right now.
You're on a big one, girlfriend. You are like...
on the road, man.
Holy moly.
On the road.
This ain't Florida.
It's not. But there it is. And yet it is.
Right.
Because when we're talking about education and kids and everybody's inherent worth and value professionally, as a family, as a community, whether you're a gay family together raising kids, whether you're a straight family, whether you come from a blue state, a red state, a purple state, the kids still want to devour and be known that they're seen and educated, right? Like you're saying, and you're seeing it in them, their own life and creativity, right? Yeah.
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 Yeah. I mean, I think that's definitely something that that binds us. You
Right.
know? We all want what's best for our children, regardless of where we live, what we believe. So
what would you say to teachers right now? So now it's summertime. Hopefully a lot of teachers are having a break. Maybe they're getting nourished. That's actually the title of this podcast right now on air, is What Nourishes.
Right.
And it goes down to self-care. And so I hope that a lot of teachers are having the self-care to feed their own soul, take a break,
Yes.
have some fun, but to reevaluate to get ready for next year. But what would you say to teachers and administrators?
I would say just listen to your body, listen to your mind, and do what it's telling you. You know, because, you know, it's easy to say, just relax, work on your tan. And if that's what you need to do, teacher, do it. Please do it. But there are some teachers out there who recharge by reading professionally, going to workshops. You know, there are some teachers who, you know, especially teachers of reading, you know, they just want to read that stack of novels that's been sitting next to their bed
For their
all
own
year,
self,
you know, just to nourish their mind and spirit. You know, I say, that teacher, dive into that stack of books. You know, have you not been able to binge on Love Island? Binge on Love Island, you know. And, you know, have you, but in all seriousness, you know, do you feel like you've been neglecting your family because you've been so busy all year? You know, just lose yourself in your family.
Right.
You know, it's like, do what is going to nourish you most.
Right.
Yes.
And, you know, we can talk about fear and where things are going all day long, but where are you finding the hopeful nuggets so that there is not going to be a continued bloodletting professionally? Because there are a lot of people choosing their retirement or that it's been a hard choice to jump into a teaching profession. What would you say to those that, is it just remember the kids and you'll get fed that way? No. All right. This is a hard one.
Simple.
It's a hard one,
Well,
but
you know, it
there
all
it
starts
is.
with the kids, you know, but
I'm trying to find the hope here.
right. You know, it starts with the kids, but a close second is with the administrators.
Right.
Teachers
What would you have to say to administrators?
I would say,
And the government officials, but we'll just start. We'll just start with the administrators. Yeah, government officials, go teach for a little bit. Go to the classrooms.
right.
Yeah,
I guess I would
that.
say to administrators, you know, trust your teachers.
Ooh, I like it.
Trust your teachers. Trust that they know what they're doing. Trust that they are true professionals. Trust that if there's a problem in their classroom, they are going to work to resolve it. If they aren't resolving it, instead of reprimanding them or cutting their pay or threatening them, give them the training they need to do their job well.
Right.
Fix the problem the best you can. And you know, testing teachers, you know, threatening teachers, only promoting and giving salary increases to teachers whose kids are performing well on standardized tests, that is not helpful. That is detrimental. You need to work with each and every faculty member in your school to help them become the best educator they can be.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. We should probably end on that. But there's one more thing, and it's about friendship.
Friendship.
It's about friendship.
Awesome. I'm team friendship. I'm team friendship.
If you have somebody that you've known for over 40 years, but life does different things, just know that there's somebody out there that will have your back no matter what.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have your back.
And vice
Heather.
versa.
So you can always count on me.
That's right. That's right.
The way that song from Toy Story goes. How does that talk?
Oh my gosh.
You got a
friend in me. Don't get me started.
You got a friend in me.
You got me started. All right. I love you.
I love you too.
I adore you.
I adore you. Never change.
Never change.
We got to keep having these lasting conversations.
That's right. Thank you for listening, everybody. And Please be sure to like, follow, review, and share this podcast. These are lasting conversations on the road this summer. Share away, enjoy, and thank you for listening.